Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you could probably hear by my lisp, this is exactly what we're going to talk about. I am going to be sharing with you my Invisalign experience. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer. Of course, I'm not a dentist. The Invisalign experience is tailored to the individual. So if you're thinking about it, I suggest speaking to a dentist to see what best suits you. So, just a little backstory. I never had any intention of getting the traditional braces, Invisalign, or any of that. But of course, I went to my dentist for my usual 6-month cleaning, and she suggested Invisalign. Initially, I was like, not interested. You just want my money, basically. And I put it off for a year. Then I went back last year, so 2024, and of course she brought it up again, but this time they provided me with x-rays. So they did the x-rays, they were showing me how my teeth was aligned, they were asking me about grinding, like if I grind my teeth in my sleep. Of course I don't know if I do, so I'm like, I don't know if I do, but based on what they were saying, they were suggesting that my teeth were showing, I guess, wear from grinding. So once I saw those pictures, and the dentist even said, oh, your teeth looks fine, but maybe one day you're eating peanut, your tooth cracks, and then of course, that just spirals, because then you have to get this work done, that work done, and that kind of freaked me out. So I was like, okay, let me look into it. So my dentist office, they had, some program with the actual company Invisalign. So at the time, I'm going to be sharing numbers because it just makes sense to share the cost with you. So in 2023, the price was at my dentist office $5,500. Then I was getting a discount because I was a long time patient. Basically, that discount was going to be $1,000. So that would have brought the cost down to $4,500. When I heard that number, I'm like, no, thank you, not interested. My insurance, of course, doesn't cover it because I'm over the age of 18. So this was all out of pocket. So as I said, 2024, she mentioned it to me again. She showed me the x-rays, and this was in March of 2024. This time the price had increased to $6,000. I was going to get $1,500 off for being like a valued customer. you know the lingo. But if I confirmed by the end of the month, I was going to get an additional $500 off. So that actually, that price was actually cheaper than 2023 because I was getting an additional $500 off. So instead of $4,500, it came down to $4,000. I was still on the fence because that's a lot. But and as I said, it was never something that I wasn't inquiring about it. I wasn't really interested in it to begin with. But honestly, the x-rays kind of scared me. And then you were seeing, I guess, the wear on the bottom of my teeth, like the tips, basically. So the final day of March, I confirmed, so I locked in that price. I was like, just in case I do decide to go ahead, let me lock in this price. So I locked that in, but I did not actually schedule an appointment to begin the process until months later. Actually, July. So from March, July, I finally scheduled. You have to do your down payment and all that kind of stuff. So I went in. I had my first appointment on July 3rd. That's where they did all of the molds. They took a lot of pictures. It was exhausting, to be honest. And I was supposed to return in 2 weeks because they were going to send all of that off to Invisalign, the company Invisalign. And I was supposed to come back in 2 weeks to actually start getting my trays. But I went back in 3 weeks because I just couldn't make the appointment. So my dentist actually told me, she showed me a picture of someone that needed a lot more work, and she said that he only needed to do it for 6 months, so mine would be less because I didn't need that much work. So I was doing what I was doing. I had a gap on the left side. There was a gap between like the front tooth and this one, it just happened over the years, so that was being closed. And at the bottom I had a tooth that wasn't really aligned, you know, with the others, that was being corrected. And I guess just overall straightening of my teeth. Once I went back to collect my trays, now I'll tell you the what was specific to me. So my program consisted of me having 23 trays, and I was supposed to, and I changed them every 4 days. So once I went back to get the initial trays, they put what they call buttons on your teeth, and it varies. So I had a lot actually. I had like in the front and then throughout my mouth. Those buttons of course help to keep the trays in place. And if you're familiar, Invisalign, as the name suggests, they're clear. So unless you hear the lisp, or maybe you're right up in my face, you won't really know that I have, you know, the equivalent of braces on. So the first day, that's what they did. They put the buttons on. They let me put on my first tray, and I practiced, you know, taking it off, putting it on, and then they just told me how to use it. So for me, they told me that I was supposed to eat with it on. I was supposed to basically have it on for the entire day. Just take it off once you finish eating. You were supposed to brush your teeth, and then for brushing your teeth at night. I got the 5 first trays. Then when it was time to start the 6th tray, I went back in the dentist's office to collect it. My experience with the first 5 trays, honestly, they were pretty good. The first tray, I think, was just getting used to it, just so you can feel that something is on your teeth. As I mentioned, and you heard at the beginning of the video, you have a lisp. They also suggested that I download the Invisalign app, and you could basically put in the program that you're on, and it reminds you. So like, if for me, every 4 days I had to change my tray, so I would get a reminder. I chose the time they would the app would remind me to change the tray. It was really easy, and they have, you know, of course, like information about the care of the trays, so forth. I honestly had a really hard time eating with them in, but on the Invisalign app and like some of the videos that I saw, they suggested that you take it out to eat with it. That's not what my dentist told me, but because it was just too much to eat with it in, so I took them out to eat, and then I would go, you know, brush my teeth, put them back in, and then just go on with my day. The first 5 trays were not terrible. Getting the top tray for me in was the easiest. The bottom tray, I always had a really hard time, and the bottom trays always felt a little tighter. I saw a video where some people had to take like aspirin before putting them in. It was never that bad for me. But what the dental assistant suggested, which I really appreciated, he said to change the trays at night. So let's say, for example, you would change it before going to bed. In the event that, you know, maybe it hurts, then you just like sleeping through that initial pain, and instead of changing it like in the morning, and then you have to endure that for the entire day. I thought that was a really good suggestion. I went back into the office to get the remainder of my tray. So from tray 6 onward, that was just for the dentist to check my teeth. I actually had to have this, call it manicuring, done. Basically, she created space between my bottom teeth because they're really close, so really, I guess, tiny space between them. She created little gaps between my teeth. And then, you know, they polished them and gave me the remainder of the trays, and then everything was fine. As I said, taking them off was best for me, so I took them off to eat, put them back on, changed them at night. The dental assistant also suggested, if you're going to use something that maybe would stain your teeth, let's say you're going to drink red wine, maybe save it for like the last day or the day that you're going to change that tray, just in case it gets stained, so you're not walking around with like you know, red in your teeth from this staining. He also gave another suggestion where he told me to keep the trays that I changed just in case I lost one, so I'm not walking around like without a tray in. I could always go back to the previous one. I never lost any, thank goodness, but that was also a really good suggestion. So for me, I would say by the time I got to tray 7, a gap that I mentioned in my top row, I saw it closing, which I was like really impressed. I'm like, oh, I no longer see the gaps. The other trays, tray 8, nothing crazy. Tray 9 was my least favorite tray, just because I felt like it never really sat right, so there was a gap and I could feel it, so I could not wait for that tray to be over. It was just uncomfortable. And then there was one tray that I actually had to, they don't really correct anything at like the back, so like your wisdom tooth, they don't really do any correction to that, so I had to clip peas so that it wouldn't bruise my gum. I also did not experience a lot of bruising. I read that some people have a lot of like bruising. I didn't really experience that. Tray 14 was the one tray that I felt the tightness, so I guess that's when it was really really working, and I felt it for the entire 4 days, but it wasn't uncomfortable. The only two trays that I actually stayed were trays 16 and 17, and that was one, I ate curry and I just did a quick rinse instead of brushing, but thankfully that was the last day of the tray. I was changing it that night, so it wasn't I was fine. And then tray 17, I actually kept it in, so I ate like fruit, like soft fruit with it in. So I ate some watermelon. You know, watermelon is red, so it got stained, and then I had red lipstick on. That was also the last day, so that wasn't a problem for me. Yeah, and I didn't really have to go back into the dentist office, but when I got to tray 18, that was actually my final tray, and I didn't realize it until I went to change it, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is my last tray. Of course, I contacted my dentist office. Tray 18 was supposed to be my final tray, but you know, they give you a schedule as well that tells you the dates. So there was a mix up when I went to get tray 6. So I went in to the office, and my dentist looked at my teeth. She asked me, you know, how I felt about it and the changes that I saw, which of course I told her. So I told you the gap closed, and the tooth that was not aligned was now in place. My teeth looked nice, and you know, it looked good. I was honestly impressed. I didn't know what to expect. When I saw the corrective work, I was impressed. Yeah, so on that day, she was also pleased with the correction. So they just took the buttons off, and they got rid of like the adhesive, because they had to put an adhesive on it, so on your teeth to put the buttons on. So they got rid of that adhesive, and then I had to get my retainers. Final process was getting my retainers. So now I have the retainers in. That's what I had at the beginning of the video. So the retainers I'm required to wear for 3 months. So at the end of February, that will be my 3 months. So I have to wear them throughout the day. I don't eat in them. And once the 3 months is over, then I just have to wear them at night. I have to say, I think it was $4,000 well spent. So the timeline for me, I made sure to give you the timeline. I officially started wearing the Invisalign on August 1st, and by October 18th or the 22nd, I was done. So that's 2 months. Yeah, and once I'm finished with the retainers at the end of February, then I'm good to go. I just wear them at night, and I have nice straight teeth. Yeah, guys, so that was my experience with Invisalign. If you have any questions, you can leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one.